coming days. We move now to the Middle East, and the Israeli military has revealed that professional failures were behind the killing of 15 paramedics and first responders in Gaza last month. The incident occurred during a convoy of Palestinian Red Crescent ambulances, a UN vehicle and a fire truck on March the 23rd. Israeli military has said that a commander would be dismissed over the incident. Gaza Civil Defense has accused the Israeli military of carrying out summary executions, rejecting the findings of the probe. The Palestine Red Crescent has also condemned the report as full of lies, demanding an independent inquiry by the United Nations. The incident has sparked global condemnation, with UN Human Rights Commissioner Volker Turk raising concerns about potential war crimes. Well, joining us to discuss this is Yossi Kupawasa, an Israeli intelligence and security expert who was joining us from Tel Aviv. Yossi, thank you ever so much for being here. We first have to look at this report, and it's saying that there were several professional failings, looking at individuals as opposed to a broader response from the Israeli military over these sort of incidents with medical vehicles moving forward. It has received some backlash, that is the report. How accurate do you think the report is, and can it be believed as the reality of the situation?
Well, it's a pretty painful report, because it reflects the fact that there were mistakes done by the people, the soldiers on the ground at the event, and that the reporting on what happened was not done properly. And this is all revealed in this report, and it's steps were taken against the people that were involved, including a relatively high-ranking officer. Yes, it's painful to see that. It shouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, it did happen, and we take the steps in order to learn the lessons and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Yes, Yossi, of course there was condemnation at the time. There has now been condemnation over this incident following the report. Of course, the footage that was circulated at the time, found on somebody's phone. There's also, of course, reports that the bodies were buried in a shallow grave amid, of course, the devastation for Israeli families and also those living in Gaza due to the conditions from the ongoing fighting. Is this a isolated incident, do you think, in your opinion, or does this show a broader Israeli military strategy?
No, it's an isolated case. It's definitely an isolated case. We fight already for a year and a half. We attacked so many targets. The situation of war is always full of unclarity and ambiguity, and mistakes happen during wars, and they shouldn't happen, but they do. And we have to take this into account. It's an isolated case. When in this year and a half, we carried out so many attacks, and almost on none of them there was a question mark of whether they were conducted properly. And it's a difficult situation, of course, but it's not the way that Israel military operates. That's why it attracts so much attention, because it's such an extraordinary case.
Yes, Yossi, do you think this...
And we have to remember that even now, with all the mistakes that were carried out during the incident, 6 out of the 15 that were killed were terrorists. Amongst the paramedics, there were terrorists, and this makes the situation even more complicated.
Yes, Yossi, well that has been disputed by certain groups, but I want to look away from that, and I want to look at the response that might come from the IDF. Now, do you think that this incident and the fact that it's been played out on the global stage with condemnation from outside of the Middle East, do you think this will impact the way that the IDF carries out future military action within the Gaza Strip?
It will affect only in the sense that we should learn the lessons and not make the same mistakes, but it's not going to limit our determination to keep fighting and remove Hamas from power in Gaza and disarm Hamas and make sure that Gaza will not serve as a launching pad for terror attacks in the future. We have to do that in spite of some mistakes that happen along the way, and we have to correct the mistakes and keep fighting. And there's no other way for us. We have to release the hostages that Hamas still keeps in captivity, 59 of them, and we have to make sure that Hamas does not remain the power that controls Gaza in the future. Otherwise, we are going to have more 7th of October. We have to remember that all of that started with the atrocities, the horrific atrocities of 7th of October. And that's why we are at war. We were hoping to see some better relations between us and Gaza before 7th of October, but this dream has not materialized.
Yes, Yossi, to bring an end to this discussion, we are very short on time, but I do want to talk about the ongoing negotiations which have been taking place. Given the fact that recent ceasefire negotiations have failed, Hamas calling for a permanent end to the war, of course, Israel proposing ceasefire deals that have then been rejected very quickly. How do you think the next few weeks will play out amid conversations over ending this war that is hurting both sides?
Well, I believe that we are going to put more pressure on Hamas in the coming days and escalate our activities in the Gaza Strip so that Hamas will understand that by refusing to accept a deal, they actually bring more damage to their units and capabilities, and that the best way for them to move forward is to accept a deal that would bring about the release of more hostages and the release of more terrorists, by the way. It's in their interest. They want to release that terrorists from Israeli jails. That's what's going to happen if they are going to accept a deal. But and the conditions in Gaza are going to be improved considerably, because for the time being we prevent the entrance of humanitarian aid. Not that it affects so much the situation in Gaza so far, because they managed to get so much aid in the past that they are overwhelmed with the amount of aid that they have at their disposal. But in the long run, this might have an impact on them, and we hope that eventually they are going to accept some sort of a deal. And if not, we shall eventually will take over the Gaza Strip from their hands. If we are left with no other options.
Yes, Yossi Kupawasa, thank you ever so much for joining us and discussing the difficult and strained topic of the Israel-Hamas war. We will, of course, be across all of those developments, but that is all that we have time for. We'll continue to bring you more of the latest breaking news from across the world.